We hope you'll do so after the service, so that we can add you to our list and make sure to invite you to all the different ministries and programs and events that we have happening here at UU Princeton. Speaking of that newcomer table, we are always in need of some new volunteers there to help welcome our guests every Sunday. We think about this especially now as we head into the fall when we usually have a lot of guests and visitors. So if you'd like to be a part of that team, please email me and we'll connect you with the folks who can help you learn how to do that. And we pause for just a moment this morning to thank someone who asked for this not to be a big thing, so it's not a big celebration, no marching bands or anything. But for several years, Linda Benson has led our Welcome Center in the back here. She's helped greet our visitors every single week. This was one of the first in-person ministries that we got back up and running when we came back to in-person worship after the online and early parts of COVID. And that's because Linda made it her baby right when we started getting back in person. She's stepping out of the coordinating position of that role. She's been doing that for a while, and so we pause for a moment to thank Linda Benson for everything. There are a few changes to the order of service. The first is that our hymns are being led by Father Rico. Thank you so much for leading our hymns today. The second is that Candace Hedberg is leading our offertory. You'll hear that beautiful piece a little bit later on in the service. And the third is that the wonderful Alice Dean is going to lead a program for the young people after Wonder and Wisdom. You can head with Alice into Robinson Lounge. She has a big inflatable earth there. She's actually going to talk about the moon. It'll be a lesson about the moon. It'll be fun after Wonder and Wisdom for all of our young people this morning. Next week at Princeton, at UU Princeton, is our Blessing of the Animals service. So you are invited to bring your animals here, and Reverend Jennifer and I will bless those furry friends of yours, or scaly, or whatever friends you have, we'll bless them. If your animals don't travel well for any reason, you can feel free to bring a picture, and we'll bless the picture, and it will transfer to each animal wherever they are. You can bring your picture on your phone as well. We'll bless pictures on phones, that's fine. That's next Sunday after worship. That service will be a little bit abbreviated. We kind of keep those services a little bit shorter because we have a lot of guests in Jan that day. After the service, you are invited to a presentation called From Fork to Forest. This is a film put on by the UU Animal Ministry. It's hosted by John Murphy and our congregation, who is part of our Princeton Eats Thanks group. It's a great film about climate change and diet and how we can reflect a concern about climate change with what we eat. It's called Fork to Forest. It's 11:45 after worship in Fox. The film itself is about 45 minutes. And so stay and watch that. And then you go to the Rainbow Ministry Annual Summer Picnic, which is right over at the Bayard Rustin Center on 12 Stockton Street in Princeton. You can bring any deep-free item that you like, hang out with friends in the congregation, and get to know some of the great people over at the Bayard Rustin Center. So your next Sunday is awesome. We're going to bless the animals, we're going to watch a cool film, and then we're going to have a picnic with Rainbow Ministry at Bayard Rustin. It'll be a really good thing. And I think that's all of our announcements. I'm pleased to invite Judy D up to light our chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to serve, to sustain, and to celebrate. And let us join in the unison affirmation printed in your order of service. May our minds be as clear and open as the air. May we learn from the wild winds how to soar across barriers and sweep away obstacles. May the air and the winds of the world be cleansed. May we learn to be good guardians and friends and allies of the air that is our life. Our first reading this morning is the poem Oxygen by Mary Oliver. Everything needs it, bone, muscles, and even, while it calls the earth its home, the soul. So the merciful, noisy machine stands in our house, working away in its lung-like voice. I hear it as I kneel before the fire, stirring with a stick of iron, letting the logs lie more loosely. You in the upstairs room are in your usual position, leaning on your right shoulder, which aches all day. You are breathing patiently,
It is a beautiful sound. It is your life, which is so close to my own that I would not know where to drop the knife of separation. And what does this have to do with love? Except everything. Now the fire rises and offers a dozen singing deep red roses of flame. Then it settles to quietude or maybe gratitude as it feeds, as we all do, as we must, upon the invisible gift, our purest, sweet necessity, the air. And our second reading is the poem Air by Victoria Adukwe-Buli. Friend, I saw you sitting at the window of yourself, high up in the loft, watching it all go on without you. I was ice and you were almost shadow. I waved like a child on a passing boat. Unsure of whether or not this counts, I want us to remember the unreadable air, how it waits to be recast by the touch of our lungs, our breath alone, a most humble poem. In, out, the couplet we write without thinking. Don't go. We must stay alive to our place in the family of green and breathing things that use even our sighs to make sweetness from light. What grace. Allow what is simple to be simple. Accept it as truth. Quiet as it's kept, we help the trees breathe too. The sun and the north wind had an ancient, timeless rivalry. Each thought itself the strongest force in creation, and each sought to prove it whenever they could. One day, when they saw an average man walking down the street in a warm coat, they decided to see who was strong enough to make him take the coat off. The wind, sure of itself, immediately whipped up a windstorm around the man. He found himself suddenly walking in this tempest. The wind dropped the temperature dramatically, and the man shivered in the cold. Throughout it all, he held on to his coat, trying to cinch it tighter and tighter around his body for warmth. The wind blew stronger and stronger, and the man just held on to his coat more tightly and tightly until the wind finally got tired and gave up. Then it was Sun's turn, and Sun took a different approach. With the wind no longer making the man cold, Sun just shone her light upon the man until he warmed up some more, and eventually got so hot that he took his coat off and continued on his walk with the coat draped over his arm. With this, the crafty Sun won, and the frustrated wind lost. Sun had proven to be, in this case, stronger. Now, the sentiment history is written by the victors may apply here and may lead to an incomplete version of history, for certainly sometimes wind is stronger than sun. Sun must have written this story down. Or perhaps Sun inspired Aesop, the ancient Greek storyteller, to write it down sometime in the 6th or 7th century BCE. It's an ancient fable that has been turned into art and film and retold for millennia, typically to teach the moral that warmth can be stronger and more transformative than force. It teaches that gentleness is powerful. It instructs that the tempests make us bundle up, but being in peaceful and open air makes us walk free and uninhibited. It's a fable about kindness, as the sun simply warms and then wins the contest. If the dating is right, this fable would have preceded the book of Job in the Hebrew scriptures by a couple hundred years. Highly influential, Job also centers on two supernatural forces competing with each other for a kind of supremacy. One is God, and the other is Satan, and in the middle of the bet is this honest and holy man, Job, who is made to suffer greatly to see if he would renounce his allegiance to God. Satan causes the suffering. God allows it, blurring the moral lines between the two, who then, and forever blurring the moral lines between the sacred and the secular for those of us living at that intersection, which is to say for all of us. Job teaches that what is holy may in fact be profane, at least sometimes, perhaps often, when what or who is holy is insecure and kind of power hungry and status obsessed. For then it may work in concert with what is evil to prove its ascendancy, and when that's the case, no matter who wins the bet, evil wins the battle, for suffering has been allowed by what is good to befall what is also good. In the bet, if Job renounces, Satan wins. If he remains faithful, God does. Job remains faithful, and so God wins. Well, nothing, really, except the assurance of sovereignty and supremacy. One might think a God wouldn't need that reassurance, but this one seems to desire it. God rises ascendant over Satan, which is interpreted as a gift for those to come. Should we be faithful to that same God, a sense will arise that we are allegiant to something stronger than the strongest evil. That sense can be the dawn through which we all must sometimes endure the dark night. Nationally, right now, for many, faith in the good, the true, the just, the compassionate, a stubborn faith that, well served, these virtues will ascend again, for they fill the hearts of the faithful, if not the policies of the powerful. One need not a sense of God to serve the good, to seed the good, to be true to the good, though evil and suffering reign. One need only name and know the evil as that and the good as good, and to align the self as best one can freely with the good and the holy. And in our faith, and part of what makes our faith a faith, is that we must do that together in broad and diverse association, growing in reach and deepening in faith such that the liberal church can be the orienting beacon toward the good when times are anything but good. Our faith is not the way of one being good. It's the way of many being good and being better together. We are of the faith that witnesses the suffering of Job and seeks to help, to serve, to explain nothing, but to be there with balm and food and sacred company. The text simply leads to the conclusion that humans will never understand the workings of God, true, but not exactly filling fair. And so for millennia, people have been trying to make sense of Job, studied in the scope of why do bad things happen to good people. A common conclusion is that bad things simply happen to all people, and there may be no reason why, or if there is, we'll never know. We can only respond with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, or the fruits of the Spirit, as the earliest Christians would proclaim a few centuries after Job. But many centuries before Job, in the mytho-poetic creation stories, that same God created creation as good, and created it through word, through speaking, through breath, through air. Again and again, the text reads that God said, "This shall be, and that shall be, and thus it all was." God's breath as air became the substance that created the rest of the substances that became the world that the ancient storytellers were trying to understand. And while later versions of this God would barter with the devil and allow suffering to win a bet, this earlier poetic God is only making what's good. It's all good in the stories, with the Creator's breath as holy air, as a sacred wind, washing over the world and making birds and buffalo and lions and ladybugs. The air becomes one with the very presence of mountains and oceans, trees and valleys. Leaves are of this breath. The very light itself is imbued with this sacred air. The rains, too. The wind is its movement, and the stillness is its peace. It fills us with each inhale and centers us with each exhale, each innumerable cycle bringing about that same original proclamation of goodness from Creator, gazing at her spoken and created work. It was not just an imagined work, not just a plan, not just a hope. It was made by action, by doing something, by speaking something into existence. In the ancient stories, an ancient divine wind of breath gave form to the formless void and is still giving form to this day. This original goodness, original peace, is a kind of presence found in the breath that can be approached through meditation today. Ancient, modern, and hybrid disciplines teach the spiritual art of breathwork as a way to edge closer to the peace and goodness of this moment instead of the anxiety and fear of what has been or might become. In the breath of those today, yesterday, and to come is the ancient centering of the good, but we have to move with intention toward that center. For the world sends us spinning. It distracts and fragments us. It worries, confuses, and constricts us, and thus it controls us. and the disciplines designed to keep us for even just a few moments sitting and centered in what is good and peaceful right now in a world that makes no sense and in which we may feel like we have no power. For we do have the power of this moment, this breath, this pause, and then the response, the word, and the deed, and what that brings to life. It's never a quick fix, or for me it's not. Meditation is not like flipping a switch and all of a sudden I'm peaceful. It takes work to be at rest. Or as Dolly Parton said, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap. It takes a lot of effort to look that peaceful or to be peaceful, and the result is rarely, if ever, perfect peace. It's more along the lines of being a little more centered than I'd otherwise be, which most of the time is enough to get through the really spinny, angsty parts of life. I saw this in real time with a toddler one day who, at the playground where my kids were running around, was just on the edge of a definite meltdown. You see, there were only 4 swings, and the young one wanted one, but they were all taken, and it was hot out. And the tears started, and the fists were balled up, and those of us who've parented through the meltdowns could clearly see what was coming. I think we all internally surveyed the snacks in our bags to see what we might share. For if anything will stop a meltdown, goldfish crackers are usually a good bet. They work for my meltdowns anyway. But before I knew it, the father had taken the child's hands in his and led the little one to take these 3 deep breaths. They took them together. The child did, breathing in that same elemental air as that which created this one good earth. And he did not experience perfect, lasting peace, but he found a little in that moment. He remained a little unhappy, but he did not melt down and was soon able to go run around and do other things until a swing was free. I was moved by how good the parenting was in that moment and a little jealous. It's really good. Even though I knew by then that there's a good chance that those 3 breaths don't work every time. Some meltdowns are just going to happen. They happen here, there, everywhere. They're a part of parenting. They're never anyone's fault. My kid's preschool principal described them as every kid getting to just be a kid from time to time. But in the moment, as parent or child, that sacred air that fills our bodies and fills the world can center us in a little more peace than we would otherwise experience. That sacred air can fill us with a little light, a little space, a little balance, and a little grace. It can edge out just enough of the worry and anxiety and noise and fear to let us be who we really want to be in the moments that really matter. And the disciplines are designed to deepen that capacity every ordinary day so that we are able to tap into that sacred breath, that sacred air when times are particularly difficult. We practice when we don't need it so that it'll be there when we do. And then it ends up reflecting what we offer into the world as well. The story makes this clear, for that fable about the wind and the sun is not really about the wind and the sun. It's about us and how we engage the world. Do we blow about forcefully and insist on our own power? Or do we patiently warm and seek to ease and empower everyone's journey? The wind in that story is insecure and abrasive, and the sun, though pleasant, encourages this action so that it can rise in stature. And yet we know that winds can be pleasing and calm as well. They can freshen and cause music. They can spread seed and pollen and make new life. They create the beauty of rippling waters and undulating fields of grain. We can know a wind of terror and punishment, as the story describes, but we can also know a wind of beauty and peace, for both are true. And which one we choose to follow is all about us. Just like the ancient and innumerable gods that fill traditions and scriptures and systems beyond measure, we choose what we worship. And it always says more about us than the objects of our worship. As Emerson wrote, a person will worship something, have no doubt about that. We may think our tribute is paid in secret in the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will come out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. And he concludes, therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship, for what we are worshiping, we are becoming. If we are enamored with the angry, forceful, spiteful wind that seeks to make someone else miserable to prove itself stronger, we become those qualities. Even if we are enamored with the craftiness of a sun tricking a lesser force into exposing its weakness, we are becoming that too. Better to be enamored with the peaceful wind that blesses as grace rather than punishes as power. Better to be enamored with the warming sun whose light blesses all rather than whose tricks causes a traveler traveler to suffer, frightened in a tempest. Better to worship the good and the true as wind, as sun, as God or gods, as fruits of the Spirit, as ancient virtues told by ancient storytellers that help us become closer to the good of this whole sacred world. We know in the air, the wind, the sacred breath, that which can create and bring about peace, and we know in the same forces that which can bring about destruction. We know in our words, our breaths, the very same power, and thus bear the very same responsibilities as wind and sun and the God of Job do. The same choices lie before us as they did before them. And maybe that's the real wisdom of these tales, not in helping us understand the holy, but in helping us understand ourselves. For in our words, our breath, the air we form, creates the world around us. And in our choices, our actions, and with our presence, the world can be more or less sacred. It can be more or less holy. It can be more or less good. The ancient elemental air that in the old myths started creation continues creation through us today. We are still building upon the created world, sustaining it in communion with wind and air and our bodies and our minds. Creation spoken into being continues being spoken into being by us, not only us, but us in concert, interdependent with all life. We know the blustery, insecure, power-obsessed airs of these days. They swirl around constantly, causing fear, causing suffering. And yet we remain a people of warmth more powerful than that of bluster, of a faith more confident than that of fear. We know what we worship, the good, the true, the free, the generous, the loving. Though winds worshiping lesser gods, or pride or power fill the air, that which we create with each inhale and exhale is of a strong peace and basic human goodness and enduring universal love. May what we offer be sacred and good. May our words build one another up and offer healing. And when we need peace, may we find it in breath and with one another. And when the world needs love, may we offer it just because it's good and right, because we have been thusly gifted and thusly graced. And may the sacred air dance around all, bringing light and music and beauty and energy to a world always being remade, always being created anew. May it be so, and amen. And at the end of our hour, we've extinguished our chalice, knowing that its light carries us until we gather again. Go forth grateful for the moments before you, the breath within you, the people among you, and the Spirit guiding you toward lives of love and kindness. And go forth knowing that you are held always, and always with everyone else, by that great love of no beginning and never ending. Go in peace, and amen.